Peace, family. I don't know where you are, but where I am is so beautiful. I'm super grateful to be able to be out here and enjoying some amazing weather. It's about 68 degrees, and I'm just grateful. I'm chilling in some park, and I'm taking in some deep breaths, and I'm enjoying this day. I just wanted to quickly introduce you to what will soon be a podcast that I'm starting for the ladies. I know I mentioned to you a couple of times, but I wanted to give you an introduction. We haven't named the podcast officially yet, but I wanted to make sure that you knew what the content was like, what the vibe will be like, and just, what the goals are. And first and foremost, I want you to know that this is a conversation about women, between women, but it is in no way an exclusive conversation. I invite men to listen. I invite men to ask questions. But what I hope men will understand and masculine people will understand is that this is not necessarily a space for patriarchy. This is not a space for patriarchy, absolutely not. But it's also not necessarily a space for women to be told how to feel, how to think, and what to do. This will definitely, first and foremost, be a safe space for women to discuss what it means to be a woman, to discuss our bodies candidly, to discuss motherhood and infertility, to discuss vaginas and wombs and vulvas and breasts and reproductive organs openly and candidly and transparently. We will be practicing radical transparency here because it's very important for us to combat a lot of what was taught to us as children and to combat these thoughts not only for ourselves but for our young ones, for our own children, and for young people that may come behind us and watch this podcast. So just know that we haven't even set a date. I originally wanted to do it on Wednesdays, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be Wednesdays, but whatever day it will be, I just want you to come prepared to be completely open with who you are, with who you love, with how you love, with your perspective on your womanhood journey, with your perspective on your sisterhood journey, because this is very much about the relationships we have as women, the relationships we have with our mothers, with our sisters, with our good friends, with our good girlfriends, and with our daughters, and with the young ladies in our lives. So continue to think on what you want this podcast to be, because this is a community. As I say on my Sunday sessions when I'm ready to dance again, is that this is a community for us all to love, to heal, to grow, to become whole within ourselves, to be the best version of ourselves. And as a woman, I wanted to speak to that particular aspect of me. As a child growing up, we weren't really taught about our bodies, and so that's going to definitely be a big part of the conversation. We weren't taught what sex was. We weren't taught how our bodies feel when we enter puberty. We weren't taught about painful breasts. We weren't taught about liking and loving sex. We weren't taught about how it feels to be truly loved by our man, what it should look like, we thought we were getting examples from the women in our lives, but sometimes those examples were toxic. Sometimes those examples were only one aspect, and we did not have the freedom or the pleasure um, or even the invitation to look beyond the veil, to ask questions. And a lot of times we were given pieces of information without the whole story. Those of us who grew up in spiritual households, Christian households, Muslim households, many of us, some of us may not have had this experience. Some of us may have had experiences that are completely opposite of this, but many of us had to deal with guilt and shame around our bodies, around the desire for sex. We had to deal with guilt and shame just with using the words that actually mean the real body parts. I mean, using the word vagina for some of us was shameful. Many of us had to deal with religious shame, religious even chastisement in public because of feelings or thoughts or just that were just natural. So as a woman, I want us to speak on it. I want us to talk about it. I want us to let go of the pain that is associated with it. So just know that this will be a safe space for us to talk. But many of our conversations will undoubtedly, by nature, talk about our relationships with men, and being as that will be some of the topics, I do want men to listen. I do want men to hear what we have to say when we're being candid and forthright and truthful and completely bare. Sometimes we're afraid to talk to our men about our bodies. Sometimes we're afraid to talk to our men about our upbringing and about feeling shame or guilt. I can tell you quickly, I felt a lot of shame around sex when I was young, and it would literally make my stomach hurt after having sex. Like, I would feel physically sick because even though I was doing something that was natural, I would feel physically sick because of the guilt that was associated with sex. And that's not something I want for young people, for young women. That's not something I want for anyone. I think the approach can be different, and I think that we could add to the conversation. And one more thing that I think is very important for me to point out is that this is a conversation for regular black girls, however you define regular black girls. For me, regular black girls are girls that don't necessarily have to beat their face every time they go out, who don't necessarily, maybe you have 1 or 2 units in the house, but you can wear your hair out whenever you want to. You don't necessarily have to be glam or a professional or a doctor or a gynecologist or a psychologist to have these questions, and you don't have to be super femme to be considered feminine, and you don't have to be super traditional to be considered a real woman. I want to hear from all facets of femininity, all facets of womanhood, whether you do beat your face and wear the lashes and make sure your wig is on point, or whether you just walk around like me with no makeup, with your hair the way however you feel like having it that day, all natural, or whether you might have a couple of degrees under your belt and really know what you're talking about. We want to hear from the entire spectrum of black femininity, black womanhood, and it's very important to know that regular black girls are absolutely and most definitely welcome. So I mean, that's what it's gonna be. That's what we're here for. And I'll be announcing in the community section the date that the first episode will air. Now, like I said, it's a podcast, so it's gonna be a long form conversation. It's not just gonna be the 20 minutes, the 15 minutes that I usually give you guys on Sundays. Prayerfully, we'll be able to grow this into a full conversation. I'll be inviting people to come talk to us about things. I'll be inviting some regular black girls to have the conversation with me, but for now it's just gonna be me as usual. And be prepared, because I really want us to break down some stereotypes, to get underneath the surface of things, and to heal ourselves from some serious wounds so we can be whole women, and we can be whole in our relationships, and we can be examples to the women and to the men, especially the young men, of what whole women look like. I'm very excited to get started. The sun is finally out of my eyes so I can open them wide. But again, stay tuned, be encouraged, get prepared. By the way, are you still running on that hamster wheel? Are you still attaching yourself to things that do not serve you? Let's get into it on Sunday. I love you guys. Peace.